The corridor smelled of damp earth and old rust, the kind of smell that crawls into your lungs and refuses to leave. Every step echoed too loudly, as if the building itself was listening. Daniel stopped walking, his breath shallow, his flashlight trembling in his hand. He told himself it was just an abandoned place, bricks and concrete, nothing more. But the silence ahead of him felt alive, thick and waiting. He had come here because of the tapes. 3 weeks earlier, Daniel worked night shifts at a small local news archive. Most nights were dull, dusty shelves, broken air conditioning, and the low hum of machines scanning old recordings into digital files. One night, while cataloging an unmarked box, he found a stack of cassette tapes. No labels, no dates, just black plastic cases wrapped with brittle rubber bands that snapped the moment he touched them. Curiosity won. He loaded the first tape into an old player. At first, there was only static. Then breathing. Slow. Wet. Close to the microphone. Daniel leaned closer to the speaker without realizing it. A voice followed, barely louder than a whisper. "If you're hearing this, it means I didn't get out." The tape ended with a sharp scream and the sound of something heavy hitting the ground. Daniel laughed nervously that night, telling himself it was probably a student film or a failed radio drama. But he couldn't forget the voice. It sounded real. Too real. Over the next nights, he listened to the rest of the tapes. Each one sounded like a diary, recordings made by different people over different years, all describing the same place. A building beneath the city. A place that should not exist. A corridor that changes. A door that listens. And every tape ended the same way. Screaming, followed by silence. The final tape was different. No scream. Just a sentence spoken clearly and calmly. "It learns your fear. Then it becomes it." On the back of the cassette case, written faintly with a marker almost rubbed away, was an address. Now Daniel stood inside that address, deep underground, flashlight cutting through the darkness. The building was supposed to be demolished years ago, sealed and forgotten. But the entrance had been open, as if inviting him. He told himself he was here for proof. For a story. For logic. The corridor ahead bent unnaturally, curving out of sight even though the building plans he had studied showed it should be straight. The walls were lined with doors, dozens of them, each one slightly different. Some were wooden, some metal, some looked swollen, as if breathing. None had handles. A sound came from behind him. Footsteps. Daniel spun around, heart slamming, flashlight beam shaking across the empty corridor. Nothing. No one. Just his own echo fading away. "Hello," he called, instantly regretting it. Something answered. Not a voice. More like the sound of nails dragging slowly across concrete, coming from inside one of the doors. Daniel backed away, breath quickening. He remembered the tapes. Don't run. Don't knock. Don't listen too long. He moved forward instead, choosing a door at random, trying not to look at the others. As he passed them, he felt watched. The walls seemed closer now, the ceiling lower, pressing down on his skull. Suddenly, a door beside him shuddered violently. A face pushed against it from the inside. Not fully formed, just the outline of a head, nose flattened, mouth stretched wide in a silent scream. The wood bulged and cracked, as if it were skin trying to tear open. Daniel screamed and ran. The corridor stretched impossibly long, his footsteps swallowed by the darkness. His flashlight flickered, dimmed, then steadied. He didn't stop until his lungs burned and his legs shook. When he finally slowed, he realized something was wrong. The doors were gone. The corridor was bare now, smooth concrete walls slick with moisture. The air felt warmer, heavier. A low hum vibrated through the floor, not sound but pressure, like something massive breathing beneath him. "Get out," Daniel whispered to himself. The floor ahead sloped downward. He hadn't noticed the incline before. His feet moved on their own, sliding slightly as if the building wanted him deeper. That's when he heard the crying. A child's voice echoed faintly ahead, sobbing softly, calling for help. The sound pierced him instantly, sharp and familiar. His throat tightened. "No," he muttered. "Not real." But the crying grew louder, clearer. "Please. I'm scared." Daniel's hands shook violently. The voice sounded like his sister. She had drowned when they were kids, pulled under by a river current while Daniel stood frozen on the bank, too afraid to jump in. He had replayed that moment every night since. The corridor opened into a large room. The ceiling disappeared into darkness. In the center stood a small figure, hunched and trembling. "Sarah," he whispered. The figure turned slowly. It had his sister's face, pale, waterlogged, eyes wide and glassy. But her mouth was wrong, too wide, stretched back toward her ears, filled with rows of thin, needle-like teeth. "You left me," it said in her voice. "You listened to me drown." Daniel stumbled back, sobbing, his mind breaking under the weight of guilt and terror. The thing took a step toward him. With every step, its body shifted, flickering between forms. His sister, a faceless shadow, a mass of writhing limbs. "It learns your fear," the tape had said. Daniel turned and ran again, screaming until his throat burned. The corridor twisted sharply, walls bending at impossible angles. He slammed into something solid, a door. This one had a handle. Without thinking, he grabbed it and pulled. The room beyond was small, dimly lit by a single hanging bulb. A desk stood against the wall, covered in recording equipment. Cassette tapes were stacked neatly, hundreds of them, labeled with dates, some from decades ago, and some with dates in the future. A man sat in a chair in the corner, head bowed. His body was thin, skin stretched tight over bone. "Don't shut the door," the man croaked without looking up. Daniel froze. "The moment you do," the man continued, lifting his head slowly, "it knows you're ready." The man's eyes were gone, empty sockets leaking dark fluid. Yet he stared directly at Daniel. "I've been here a long time," he said. "Long enough to understand it. This place doesn't kill you. It records you." Daniel's breath hitched. "What is it?" The man smiled weakly. "Fear, memory, hunger. Call it whatever helps you sleep. It feeds on the shape of terror, and when it's full..." A deep vibration shook the room. The walls pulsed, like muscles flexing. "It makes more space." The door behind Daniel slammed shut on its own. The light bulb burst. Darkness swallowed everything. Daniel felt hands grab him. Not physical, but inside his chest, inside his skull. Memories were ripped open, moments of shame, regret, terror replayed all at once. He screamed until his voice shredded. In the dark, something whispered, "Speak." A recorder was shoved into his hands. He didn't know how he knew, but he understood. If he didn't speak, he wouldn't exist at all. With shaking hands, Daniel pressed record. "My name is Daniel," he sobbed. "If you're hearing this, please don't come here." It knows you. It becomes you. Something wrapped around his legs, pulling him backward. The floor felt soft now, sticky, like wet flesh. He kept talking. He couldn't stop. The last thing the recorder captured was the sound of Daniel screaming as the building learned him completely. Weeks later, a night shift archivist found an unmarked box beneath a shelf. Inside were cassette tapes, and one fresh recording, still warm to the touch. The first time the graveyard called his name, Ion thought it was the wind. It was past midnight when he heard it, soft, stretched, almost loving. Ion. He stopped his bike at the edge of the road. The graveyard lay to his left, an old Muslim qabristan surrounded by broken walls and crooked trees. He traveled this road every night after his factory shift, and never once had he stopped. But tonight, the air felt heavier, colder, as if something unseen had wrapped its fingers around his chest. He laughed nervously and started the bike again. The whisper came back, clearer now. "Come inside." Ion sped away, heart pounding, convincing himself exhaustion was playing tricks on his mind. When he reached home, he found mud on his shoes. Fresh, wet mud. He scrubbed his feet until the skin burned. but the smell of damp earth stayed with him all night. The next day, Ion tried to forget it. But at work, while machines roared and sparks flew, he felt watched. Every shadow felt longer. Every silence felt wrong. When night fell, fear sat beside him like a passenger he couldn't see. As he approached the graveyard again, his bike engine stalled. Dead. No warning. No sound. The graveyard gate stood open. Ion swallowed hard and tried to push the bike, but the tires wouldn't move. The air grew unnaturally silent. Even the insects had stopped singing. Then he saw them. Footprints. Bare footprints forming in the dirt, walking slowly toward him from inside the graveyard. His throat closed. Astagfirullah, he whispered. The footprints stopped inches from his feet. A voice breathed near his ear. You left us alone. Ion screamed and ran, abandoning the bike. He didn't look back until he reached home, collapsing against the door, gasping. That night, he dreamed of hands clawing out of graves, soil filling his mouth as voices whispered his name again and again. In the morning, scratches covered his arms. He stopped using that road. For 3 nights, peace returned. But on the 4th night, as he lay in bed, the smell of wet earth returned. His bedroom light flickered. From the corner of the room, a shadow stretched unnaturally long. Ion. He sat up, frozen. The shadow peeled itself off the wall and stood upright, forming the shape of a man, tall, bent, with no face. Only a mouth, hanging open, filled with darkness. You crossed us, it said. I never entered, Ion cried. I swear. The thing tilted its head. Your blood did. Memories flooded Ion's mind. Childhood games in the graveyard, stealing flowers, breaking gravestones, laughing as elders warned him not to go there. The shadow stepped closer. Debts must be paid. Ion ran outside screaming. Neighbors' lights turned on, but no one came out. The street looked wrong. Houses stood darker, older. The road cracked under his feet. He was no longer in his neighborhood. He stood inside the graveyard. Graves surrounded him as far as his eyes could see. You can't leave, hundreds of voices whispered. Hands burst from the soil, grabbing his legs, pulling him down. Ion screamed prayers, crying, begging forgiveness. The ground opened beneath him, swallowing his body, his voice, his breath. By morning, the road beside the graveyard was empty. Only a bike stood there, covered in fresh mud. And from beneath the soil, something whispered a new name, waiting for the next traveler to stop. The room was never completely dark. That was the first thing Miriam noticed after moving into the apartment. Even when she switched off every light, pulled the curtains tight, and closed the door, there was still a faint glow, like moonlight trapped inside the walls. It wasn't enough to see clearly, but enough to make shadows move when they shouldn't. She told herself it was just city light leaking in. Karachi never truly slept. Still, the first night, she didn't sleep at all. The apartment was cheap. Too cheap for its location. A 2-bedroom flat on the 4th floor of an old building that smelled of dust, moisture, and something sour she couldn't name. The landlord hadn't asked many questions. He'd avoided eye contact, handed her the keys, and said only one strange thing before leaving. Don't answer if you hear knocking after midnight. Miriam had laughed then. She wasn't laughing now. At 12:47 a.m., the knocking began. It wasn't loud. Just 3 soft taps. Knock, knock, knock. Miriam froze in bed, staring at the door. Her phone glowed beside her, the time mocking her. She remembered the landlord's words and pulled the blanket tighter around herself. It's nothing, she whispered. Just pipes. Just neighbors. The knocking came again. Closer, not from the front door. From inside the wall behind her bed. Her breath caught in her throat. The taps were slow, deliberate, as if something on the other side was testing the surface, learning where she slept. She pressed her hands over her ears until exhaustion finally dragged her under. The next morning, she found fingerprints on the wall. Gray, dusty fingerprints, half-formed, like they had pressed from the inside out. She tried to scrub them away, but the marks sank back into the wall, vanishing as if swallowed. Miriam didn't call the landlord. She didn't tell her family. She told herself she was stressed. Starting a new job, living alone for the first time, her mind was playing tricks. The second night, the knocking returned. This time, it was louder. Knock, knock, knock. Then a pause. Then scratching. Slow, dragging scratches, moving across the wall, circling her bed. Miriam sat upright, heart hammering so hard she thought it would burst. Her mouth opened to scream, but no sound came out. The air felt thick, heavy, pressing against her lungs. A voice whispered her name. Miriam. It didn't come from one place. It came from everywhere. From the walls, the ceiling, inside her head. She grabbed her phone and ran out of the apartment barefoot, not stopping until she reached the stairwell. The lights flickered as she descended. On the second floor, she heard someone crying. A woman sat on the steps, rocking back and forth, hair covering her face. Are you okay? Miriam asked, her voice shaking. The woman looked up. Her eyes were hollow, sunken, skin stretched tight over bone. It knocks for you too? The woman whispered. Miriam felt cold spread through her chest. You hear it? The woman laughed, a dry, broken sound. Everyone does. At first. What do you mean at first? The woman's smile widened unnaturally. Before it comes inside. The stairwell lights went out. Miriam screamed. When the lights came back, the woman was gone. Miriam didn't return to the apartment that night. She stayed at a friend's place, but sleep didn't come. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw walls breathing, bulging inward, hands pressing through concrete. The next evening, she went back, only to pack her things. As she unlocked the door, a wave of cold air hit her face. The apartment smelled stronger now. Damp earth, rot, something old. Her living room wall was covered in writing, scratched deep into the paint with fingernails. Why won't you answer? Miriam backed away, shaking. Her phone rang. Unknown number. With trembling fingers, she answered. Hello. Breathing filled the line. Wet. Close. Then her own voice spoke back to her. Miriam, open the door. She dropped the phone. The knocking exploded from every wall at once. The apartment shook violently. Cracks raced across the ceiling. From the walls, shapes began to push through. Faces stretched thin, mouths open in silent screams. Miriam ran for the door. It wouldn't open. The handle twisted uselessly in her hand as the knocking grew frantic, desperate. You hear us, dozens of voices hissed. Now let us in. The wall behind her split open with a sickening crack. A hand emerged, gray, swollen, nails black and broken. Then another. Then a face pushed through, skin tearing as it forced itself into the room. Miriam screamed prayers, sobbing, collapsing to the floor. I'm sorry, she cried. Just leave me alone. The thing paused. Its mouth stretched wider. We don't leave, it said gently. We move in. The floor dropped away. Miriam fell. She landed hard, knocking the air from her lungs. She lay on cold concrete, surrounded by darkness. Slowly, shapes emerged around her. People. Men. Women. Children. All pale. All broken. All staring at her. Where am I? She whispered. A child stepped forward. Half his face was missing. This is the inside, he said. Where we live now. Miriam realized then, these weren't monsters. They were tenants. People who had lived here before her. What happened to you? She cried. They spoke together. It knocked. We answered. It needed space. The walls around them pulsed, alive. You can go back, the child said softly. But only if you help us. Miriam shook her head. Help how? The child smiled sadly. Stay. The apartment building looked normal the next morning. A new tenant arrived that afternoon. A young man carrying boxes, smiling nervously. The landlord handed him the keys and repeated the same words he always did. Don't answer if you hear knocking after midnight. That night, as the man lay in bed, he heard it. Knock, knock, knock. And from inside the wall, Miriam whispered his name, learning how to knock just right.